Welcome to the deep dive. We are really thrilled to have you with us today.
Yeah, thanks for joining us. We've got an incredibly complex, fast-moving geopolitical situation to decode for you.
We really do. So our mission today is to analyze this fascinating, recently translated broadcast from a Belgian news program, VRT NWS.
Right.
They brought in the Belgian head of defense, General Frederick van Sina, to basically break down days of a rapidly escalating Middle East conflict.
And it is such a critical snapshot of a highly volatile moment. I mean,
Mhm.
we are looking at a scenario where the U.S. and Israel have attacked Iran, and that initial action has triggered just a massive, unprecedented domino effect.
Yeah, missiles and drones are flying across multiple countries right now.
Exactly. The whole theater has expanded way beyond localized retaliation.
Okay, let's unpack this because we have dense military strategies, delicate geopolitical tightropes, and severe domestic political fractures to cover.
It's a lot of ground.
It is. But before we get into the tactical chessboard, I need to quickly set the stage and the ground rules for the material we're reviewing. Always important.
Right, because this source material contains some very politically charged statements from both left-wing and right-wing European politicians. So we want to be crystal clear with you. Neither of us is taking a side here.
No, not at all.
We are not endorsing any of these viewpoints. We are strictly and impartially reporting the ideas exactly as they appear in the original source.
Yeah, our focus is purely on synthesizing the facts and the stated perspective so you can understand how this is cascading globally.
Right. So looking at the initial military response, General Van Sina's breakdown of the U.S. and Israeli strategy was, it stood out as highly methodical.
Oh, absolutely.
They didn't just blanket the region. There was a very clear phasing to it.
Yeah, General Van Sina detailed how Phase 1 was dedicated entirely to securing absolute air superiority.
Because without that dominance, you can't really do anything else.
Exactly, you're severely compromised. So they moved aggressively to dominate the airspace while targeting Iranian leadership infrastructure. And it seems that initial decapitation phase was largely successful. Which brings us to Phase 2, where the operational tempo shifted dramatically. And I found this part wild. Rather than just a continuous barrage, Phase 2 relies on maintaining permanent unmanned platforms just hovering over Iran.
Yeah, loitering munitions.
Right. They're essentially parking assets in Iranian airspace to systematically hunt down missile threats the second they emerge.
The psychological and tactical impact of that is huge. You have an adversary with persistent overhead surveillance just waiting to instantly eliminate any projectile aimed at Israel or allied countries.
They are neutralizing launch sites one by one.
Exactly. The moment a threat signature pops up, it's gone.
But considering that level of suppression, the broadcast highlighted a surprising fact that really challenges a lot of assumptions right now.
Yeah, which is that Iran's military is not completely crippled.
Right. Despite targeting their leadership in Phase 1, their regional forces are still highly active.
What's fascinating here is the distinction General Van Sina made between strategic surprise and tactical surprise.
Go into that a bit.
So, Iran was tactically surprised by the exact timing. They didn't know the specific hour of this strike.
Sure.
But they were not strategically surprised. They assumed this day would come. And because of that foresight, they maintained a remarkably resilient command and control structure.
They basically anticipated the disruption at the top, so they pivoted to this heavily decentralized model.
Exactly.
It's like having franchise managers who don't need to call corporate to make a decision. The regional units are operating autonomously off a pre-planned playbook.
Which renders a centralized decapitation strike pretty ineffective at stopping the broader retaliation.
And they had years to build up for this. I mean, massive underground stockpiles of drones and missiles. The broadcast even pointed out that Iran is the master of the specific warfare. They are the ones who taught Russia how to use these drones.
Yeah, they're the primary architects of modern loitering munition warfare.
So that brings us to the numbers game. Iran is claiming they fired 500 missiles and 2,000 drones since Saturday.
It's a staggering volume.
It is. And they allocated roughly 40% toward Israel and 60% at U.S. targets in the broader region.
But we have to apply some critical thinking here. Because when you look at the actual impact sites mentioned in the broadcast, the narrative of strictly hitting military targets falls apart.
Right, because an international airport, a school, and an oil refinery were among the locations struck.
Exactly. If those are the outcomes of a massive barrage, it forces us to deeply question the exact nature of those targets, or at least question the precision of their systems.
Well, and questioning that precision makes sense when you see how far outside Israel's borders this conflict has spilled. It is not just localized anymore.
No, The web is expanding rapidly.
Right. Iran has targeted Gulf states like Bahrain, Qatar, and the UAE.
Because they are playing the action-reaction game. Iran claims this expansion is legitimate self-defense under international law.
By arguing that U.S. military bases are in those countries?
Right. Tehran claims that because the U.S. allegedly uses those territories to support operations against Iran, those sovereign host nations are now legitimate targets.
Which is creating some incredibly surprising casualties. The broadcast detailed a strike in Azerbaijan. An airport and a school were hit by drones.
A huge escalation.
Yeah, and Iran explicitly denies involvement in that specific one, but Azerbaijan strongly condemned it as a terror act.
And the airspace is just saturated everywhere. The broadcast noted that Iraqi Kurds just over the border were hit by Iran.
Didn't a drone go down over Turkey too?
Yes, the previous day. Sovereign borders are essentially being ignored by the munitions flying overhead.
Here's where it gets really interesting. We have to look at the Israel-Hezbollah front in Lebanon.
A whole other major layer.
Because Hezbollah didn't just join this opportunistically. They joined out of a foundational alliance with Iran. And Israel, having prepared for this scenario for months, is now openly trying to finish the job.
The intelligence shows a deeply integrated command axis. Hezbollah and Iran are executing highly coordinated, simultaneous attacks.
To overwhelm the Iron Dome and other defenses.
Exactly. Now, the security services noted that the intensity, meaning the sheer number of rockets in a single barrage, has dipped slightly.
But the frequency hasn't.
Right, and that constant frequency signals that Iran wants to drag this out. They aren't panicking and burning through their arsenal.
They want a protracted war of attrition, which explains Israel's response. Their stated goal is incredibly ambitious.
The complete disarmament of Hezbollah.
Which is, Israeli ground troops are pushing significantly deeper into Lebanon to secure the northern border. It's triggering massive evacuations.
Pushing an entrenched militant force out of a complex, mountainous urban environment is profoundly difficult.
So with all these fronts exploding, how is Europe handling this? They are geographically right next door to this airspace.
It's a tightrope walk. Secretary General Mark Rutte clarified the NATO position. They are highly vigilant, closely monitoring the airspace, but strictly as a defensive alliance.
So they are not an involved party.
Exactly. Not an involved party, the offensive operations.
But wait, the broadcast highlighted a specific incident on Monday. A British base in Cyprus, which is an EU member state, was hit by an Iranian drone.
Yeah, a very alarming detail.
So how does the EU justify not automatically triggering Article 42.7? That's their mutual defense clause.
Because the diplomatic fallout of triggering that is massive. It's not a simple tripwire. Instead, European nations like Spain, France, Greece, the Netherlands, the UK, and Italy rush to offer bilateral support to Cyprus.
Country-to-country support.
Right.
Right.
It allows them to help a sovereign ally without legally committing the entire EU to a formal war against Iran.
So what does this all mean for Europe's broader involvement? There has to be a fine line between defensive and offensive support.
A very hard line, actually. Allowing the U.S. to use European bases for logistical staging or sending fighter jets to Qatar like the UK did is strictly defensive.
Helping intercept an incoming missile is okay.
Yes. But permitting U.S. bombers to take off from European soil to strike Tehran, that is an offensive strike package.
Yeah.
And Europe is drawing a hard line against launching offensive attacks from their territories.
Okay, bringing it down to Belgium's specific role right now. General Vincina was adamant about their posture. Belgium is absolutely not at war. Instead, their military is basically fighting for parking spaces.
It's an operational nightmare.
Yeah, they are trying to get permissions for military Airbuses to execute what the source called a Neo-Class 1 repatriation operation for stranded citizens.
Which is an important distinction. It's a repatriation, not a kinetic evacuation. The environment is technically permissive. They aren't dodging anti-aircraft fire, but the logistics are totally unpredictable.
Because civilian air traffic control has essentially collapsed. Every country is trying to extract their people at the exact same time.
So you have Belgian military planners literally negotiating runway slots in an active conflict zone.
Unbelievable. And while the military is managing that abroad, the domestic political fallout back home is reaching a boiling point.
It really is.
The broadcast paints this very vivid scene. It's day 6, 11 a.m. at the Prime Minister's office. The National Security Council is meeting. There's no military on the streets of Brussels, but inside the parliament, the tension is just intense.
The international crisis is totally fracturing their domestic political coalitions.
And following our strict neutrality rule, let's objectively summarize these political divides exactly as the broadcast presented them.
Let's start with the left-wing view.
Right. The left-leaning and opposition parties, like Vorut, are highly critical. Their stated position is that they view Donald Trump as an opponent rather than an ally.
Yep.
They are openly questioning whether figures like Trump or Netanyahu truly care about the Iranian people. Their focus is heavily oriented toward the well-being of the global south.
Now, outlining the opposing perspective, the right-wing and centrist governing parties have a fundamentally different framework.
Right.
Some governing parties are actively cheering on the U.S. and Israel. The broadcast quoted a French-speaking politician who emphasized that their primary job is protecting Western EU and Belgian interests over broader global concerns.
And Prime Minister Bart de Wever is caught managing this. He had a rather sharp quote in Parliament. He said, "I am a historian, not a hysteric."
A very pointed remark.
He stated his overriding priority is domestic stability and the economy. He also added that a 47-year theocratic dictatorship that consistently tramples international law deserves zero sympathy during this escalation.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, it perfectly demonstrates how foreign wars inevitably fracture domestic politics.
Because it forces nations to debate their core identity.
Exactly. Who are our true allies? What are our responsibilities on the world stage? Lawmakers are forced to litigate whether preserving domestic economic security supersedes international idealism.
Which perfectly transitions us to the final massive ripple effect covered in the broadcast, the economic choke point.
Strait of Hormuz.
Yes. General Vancina noted that this vital waterway is de facto closed.
And the mechanism behind that closure is crucial to understand. It's not just a military blockade in the traditional sense.
Right, because the Iranian Navy was largely destroyed in the initial strikes, so you'd think the strait would be open.
But the physical destruction of their navy didn't solve the problem. The strait is closed because insurance companies simply refuse to cover the ships.
The threat of cheap, loitering munitions makes the transit uninsurable.
Exactly. It's mathematically too risky for global insurance syndicates.
And this isn't just a Middle Eastern issue. This is a direct threat to the global economy and to European purchasing power.
Instantly. If cargo ships can't transit, the cost of goods in your local European supermarket skyrockets.
The broadcast mentioned Belgium is globally known for its mine-sweeping expertise, and they are already making contingency plans for this exact scenario.
Because someone has to clear those waterways if the economy is going to keep functioning.
It's all so connected.
This raises an important question for you to mull over as we wrap up. We live in a world that is so interconnected that a drone strike thousands of miles away can instantly freeze global shipping routes.
Just completely halt them.
Right. So, how fragile is our global supply chain when a single heavily contested strait can essentially hold the world's economy hostage?
That is a phenomenal point. Will this force a shift toward localized manufacturing if the oceans are just too risky to cross?
It's something we all need to be thinking about.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for joining us for this deep dive into the VRT NWS broadcast. We hope this breakdown helped you process the incredible tactical, diplomatic, and economic layers of this conflict based on the sources you provided.
Keep questioning the consensus and digging into the data.
We will catch you on the next deep dive. Take care.